Are you undecided between the Canon EOS 6D or the Canon EOS 250D, also known as the Rebel SL3, but you're not certain if they're still a good idea to buy in 2023? In this review, we'll discuss their strengths and weaknesses so you can figure out which one you should buy. First, you'll want to know which lenses these cameras work with. It is important to note that both cameras can use varying lenses, but not necessarily the same ones. Let me explain. The 6D can only use EF lenses, for example the EF 50mm f1.4 or the EF 50mm f1.8. Unfortunately, it is not compatible with EF-S lenses like the EF-S 18-55mm kit lens. On the other hand, the 250D can use both EF and EF-S lenses, including more affordable ones such as EF-S 24mm f2.8 pancake lens. You have a lot of options in terms of third-party lenses as well. Okay, now what about storage? Do they have a dual SD card slot? No, they don't. This feature is usually only available on high-end cameras. Its purpose is to provide real-time backups of your photos. In case one of the SD card fails, you could still recover your photos from the second SD card. Although SD cards failures are rare, having multiple SD cards that you can cycle through over time decreases the possibility of losing data even further. Additionally, if you wish, you can skip the backup feature and instead use each card individually, resulting in twice as much storage space without having to fiddle with replacing cards. Equally important is, how are they in terms of connectivity? Both cameras can do Wi-Fi, however only the 250D can do Bluetooth. On the other hand, when it comes to NFC functionality, the 6D supports it while the 250D does not. Expanding on that, is their size an issue? The dimensions of the 6D are 144 by 110.5 by 74.6 millimeters, or 5.67 by 4.35 by 2.94 inches, and its weight is approximately 765 grams, or 26.98 ounces. In contrast, the 250D measures 122.4 by 92.6 by 69.8 millimeters, or 4.82 by 3.65 by 2.75 inches, and weighs approximately 455 grams, or 15.87 ounces. Both cameras are similar in size and are portable and low profile. However, the size can change depending on the type of lenses used with them. I've actually reviewed quite a few lenses on my channel. If you want to see them, you can either click the card in the top right corner or look at the links below. In terms of build quality, I'd say the 6D wins out by just a bit, with its aluminium alloy and a polycarbonate resin body. On the other hand, the 250D is constructed with a combination of aluminium alloy, polycarbonate resin, and glass fiber. Now, you might have noticed that the materials listed are quite similar. The reason why the 6D has a superior build, apart from how it feels in the hand, will be addressed a bit later on in the review, so make sure you stick around. Pretty clever way to get you to keep watching, isn't it? Cool, so what about displays? The two cameras come with decent screens at the back, which allow you to navigate menus and view photos. The screen on the 250D is articulated, meaning it can flip in different directions. This feature makes it possible to use the camera for vlogging, and the screen's surface can be protected from scratches when carrying the camera in your bag. However, the 6D has a fixed screen that can't be moved or turned. You will notice that the 6D has an LCD on the top, which is stylish and convenient for fast access to your settings. While not everyone may appreciate the appearance of this LCD, I find it quite appealing. So both of these cameras are quite useful. What should I expect from them in terms of battery life? The 6D comes with an LPE6 battery that can provide about 1,000 shots. In contrast, the 250D features an LPE17 battery that can also offer around 1,000 photos. Battery life can be influenced by a variety of factors, including screen usage, battery age, and ambient temperature. To be prepared, bringing multiple spare batteries is always wise, particularly if others are participating in the shoot. By the way, if you find this video to be informative, make sure to leave a like. Additionally, if you'd like to buy any of the items mentioned in this review, I have affiliate links below for your convenience. Another crucial point to mention is what you should expect in terms of image quality. When taking photos, your lens choice is crucial as it will impact the images you capture. However, let's focus solely on the camera's contribution. First, let's talk about the sensors. The 6D comes equipped with a full-frame CMOS sensor measuring 35.8 by 23.9 mm and has a resolution of 20.2 megapixels. Meanwhile, the 250D features an APS-C sensor measuring 22.3 by 14.9 mm and has a lower resolution of 24.1 megapixels. Now, let's move on to the processors. The 6D utilizes the Digic 5 Plus, while the 250D uses the Digic 8. You may wonder what this means. The Digic 5 generation introduced a new high-speed burst of 10.3 frames per second, Full HD 1080p video, and intelligent image stabilization. With the 8th Digic generation, several improvements were added. These include better tracking performance, improved autofocus, enhanced dual-pixel AF, and 4K at 30 FPS videos. Regarding ISO, the 6D camera's range is from 100 to 25,600, with an option to expand it from 50 to 102,800. Alternatively, the 250D camera can do 100 to 25,600, with up to 51,200 in expanded mode. It is generally advisable to keep the ISO on the lower end whenever possible, as the higher it gets, the more noise it brings to your photos. Another crucial point to mention is whether they are equipped with dual-pixel AF. So the 250D does have it, while the 6D does not. The presence of dual-pixel AF and a high number of autofocus points usually means better autofocusing capability, which can be incredibly helpful, especially in situations where something's happening and you need to take a photo fast. In terms of autofocus points, the 6D provides a maximum of 11, while the 250D offers only 9. Moving on to a related point, what can they do in terms of shutter speed? If you want to capture fast-moving subjects, can these cameras do that? Both of these cameras have a maximum shutter speed of 1/4000th of a second, which is more than sufficient for most tasks. So what if you want to do sports or wildlife photography, and thus you need to take loads of photos one after another? Well, what you're looking for is continuous shooting mode. The 6D can do 4.5 FPS in this mode, while the 250D can do 5 FPS. In other words, the 6D captures 4.5 photos within 1 second, while the 250D captures 5. This is very useful if your aim is to capture fast-moving subjects. Within that second, the more frames you can capture, the better the chance you will grab the precise moment you desire. On a different note, can you use them for video? The 6D model can capture 1080p at 30 FPS and 720p at 60 FPS, while the 250D model can do 4K at 24 FPS and 1080p at 60 FPS. Neither of the two models comes with Canon log, which is only available on more expensive cameras. The Canon log feature provides you with more dynamic range, which effectively allows you to capture more detail in the shadows and the highlights. As a quick side note, while yes, the 250D can do 4K, it is important to understand that it applies a 1.7 times crop to the image. In other words, when filming in 4K, the image is going to be quite a bit more zoomed in when compared to 1080p. Cool, so do either of these cameras have built-in IS? Nope, neither of these cameras has IBIS. Now, most cameras offer digital stabilization, but as a general rule, you should stay away from that. You may experiment with the in-body digital IS feature if you like, however, it is generally not of high quality. Additionally, it becomes a part of the video. You cannot have a copy without it. It is not preferable to rely on in-body digital IS, as it is always better to film a less steady video and later stabilize it using editing software like Premiere. This method's reliability is further reinforced as editing software has improved with time. In order to get better optical stabilization, You can consider buying a lens such as the Canon EFS 18-55mm kit lens that contains IS in the name. It offers in-lens stabilization, which is more effective than in-camera digital stabilization. On a different note, can you use either of these cameras for vlogging? At this point, pretty much any camera can be used for that purpose, but there are a few issues to bear in mind. First off, having a flip screen is ideal, so you can see what you're doing when the camera is turned around. So the 250D does have one, while the 6D does not. It is also important to consider the type of sensor your camera has, with the 250D having a cropped APS-C sensor and the 6D having a full-frame sensor. The cropped sensor would produce a more zoomed-in image compared to a full-frame sensor. As such, you should use lenses with shorter focal lengths when using the 250D for vlogging, since a lot of lenses may be too zoomed in. For handheld vlogging, you can use the 18-55mm kit lens that can be zoomed out completely to capture more of the area. If you purchase the version with IS, it will provide more stable video, making it ideal in most cases. Another lens option is the Canon 24mm pancake lens, which can cover a wide range but lacks IS, therefore producing shakier footage. If you're thinking of creating content where you can just put your camera on a tripod, then the lenses you need to use would change. The 18-55mm and 24mm lenses might not be right for that. Instead, you should consider using the Canon EF 50mm f1.4 or the f1.8. These two lenses can allow more light in and create beautiful bokeh, which is that nice blurry background. However, you may not want to use these lenses for handheld vlogging because they are far too zoomed in and do not have IS. If you want to learn more about any of these lenses, I've reviewed all of them on my channel. You can find the link down below or click the card in the top right corner. Equally important is how long these cameras will last overall. So the 6D has dust and moisture resistant sealing, while the 250D has no weather sealing. You need to handle it with caution and guard it against harsh conditions. When it comes to mechanical failure, both cameras have a maximum actuation number of approximately 100,000. This limit is due to the mechanical nature of cameras. After all, they cannot go on forever. After a certain number of photos, the mechanism which actually takes the photos will fail. Both of these models have a click limit of 100,000. Every time you capture an image, a click is produced, which counts as one actuation. Based on some basic calculations, taking 10 photos per day and having a camera with 100,000 actuations can last you up to 27 years. Assuming you begin with no photos, it's probable that the camera's other parts will malfunction before reaching the shutter's limit. However, the calculation may require tweaking if you purchase the camera used. Before making your purchase, reviewing the listing is important to ensure you know how many pictures have already been taken. Right, so what are these cameras good for? Both of them have been designed for various types of photography, such as portrait, street, product, landscape, event, and documentary. The selection of the lens is more crucial than the camera itself for these photography genres. If you're looking to take sports and wildlife photographs, then deciding on the right lens is not the only factor to consider. Having a fast shutter speed and a high number of frames per second in continuous mode can come in handy. For instance, if you go for the EOS 6D in continuous mode, you can take up to 4.5 photos in a second, while the EOS 250D can do 5 FPS. The maximum shutter speed of the 6D is 1/4000th of a second, which the 250D can also do. I hope this review has been helpful. If you're curious about the cost of these lenses in your area, there are affiliate links down below for your convenience. If you'd like to check out more reviews, you can either look down below for relevant links or click the card in the top right corner. Do you have any questions? Feel free to comment below and I'll do my best to get back to you. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe and hit that bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.